Story appears ordinary till you see the core side of it.
And what you're looking for is the story behind the news.
We bring it to you from Lagos, the commercial capital of Nigeria.
Giving you all sides and political stories round the clock.
Every detail from the start line to the final whistle.
CoreTV News, expanding your view.
Hello and welcome to CoreTV News at 7. I am Frank Kamala, and here are some of the stories filing in at this hour. Security operatives have arrested some key members of the Nigerian Football Federation just before the beginning of the General Assembly of the NFF. Those arrested are NFF President Aminu Meigeri, those whose resignation letter was leaked to the media earlier in the day, Vice President Mike Ume and General Secretary Musa Amadu. The three men have been moved to the headquarters of the Department of State Security for questioning. The development caused a stir at the venue of the Congress and forced an adjustment in the program. President Goodluck Jonathan led members of his cabinet to pay tribute to former Information Minister Dora Akuyele at a Requiem Mass, the mosque which was held at Lady Queen Pro Cathedral Area 3 in Abuja also had former head of state Yakubu Gowon in attendance. Speaking at the event, Jonathan described the late Akuyele as embodiment of selfless service.
Today, our dear sister Dora has left us, but to my brother, Dr. Akuyele, I've also listened to Bishop Cooker's sermon on the virtues of a good wife, characteristics of husbands. We have to thank God. For my children, the children of our late sister. Yes, we are mourning your mother. It's not easy for you to lose such a mother, but you should be very happy because her works, her interactions with men have given you an identity that silver and gold cannot give you. Her addressing, she's a Nigerian woman wherever she goes. Her character and disposition. Her love and passion for the country is a lady that will hardly leave our memories. Let me also condole my countrymen and women, because Dora is one of these few Nigerians that have made the whole country proud. I thank you, my brothers and sisters. May her soul rest in peace.
Nigerian President Goodluck Jonathan with emotional speech there. Moving on, the United Nations Ebola envoy David Nabarrayo says the fight against the epidemic was a war which could take 6 more months, as the global health body claimed the disease was affecting an unprecedented number of medical staff. Nabarrayo, a British physician appointed by the United Nations to coordinate the global response to the crisis, was in Sierra Leone's capital, Freetown, for the 5th day of a tour of the region.
It's not a battle, it's a war that will require everybody working together, hard, effectively. I hope it will be done in 6 months, but we have to do it until the job is complete. I'm obviously doing everything I can to combine my understanding with a really strong request to everybody. Help us find a way to continue having airlines fly into the capital cities and the provinces of the affected countries. The purpose of this visit was to understand the nature of the outbreak as it is now, and to identify ways in which the response can be stepped up so that the outbreak can be stopped as quickly as possible. Findings are as follows. It appears that the outbreak is still advancing, and it's advancing in many parts of the country. The way to stop the outbreak is well known here by everybody in government and in the partners. But the response is complicated.
UN officials have pledged to step up efforts against the lethal tropical virus, which has infected more than 2,600 and killed 1,427 since the start of the year. Doctors are back at work in Abuja, even though the government has not yet withdrawn the circular suspending residency training in federal hospitals. A visit to the National Hospital, however, showed that not all the doctors have resumed. The leadership of the Nigerian Medical Association, however, says the doctors have no reason to be absent from work.
We had immediate term, medium term and long term demands. So of the immediate and the medium term demands, most of them have been met satisfactorily, and that's why we're calling off this strike. We'll continue negotiation. We're suspending the strike, not calling it off. We'll continue negotiation with the government because that was part of the agreement. Now we're calling off because we are dealing with lives. So we'll start work, be in a suspension, and we'll continue negotiation and hope that very soon all our demands would be met.
As usual, we started receiving some patients in National Hospital, and since the consultants and the other doctors, I talk about the house officers and medical officers are working, I'm sure normal services will resume. And of course, another thing we are talking about is the resident doctors, which you're all aware that the federal government has given a directive that the resident doctors' training is on suspension. I think it's part of what the enemy is looking at, that the government should at least reconsider this issue, since the national body of NMA has always been directives that they should all come back to work.
The story is, however, no different in Lagos as doctors resume work, but with a call to the federal government to keep its side of the bargain. Anita Fatiji has more in this report.
Chairman of the Lagos branch of the Nigerian Medical Association says, though they are relieved to be back at work, the federal government should live up to expectation and reverse the dismissal of 16,000 doctors.
The strike action has been suspended, not called off really, in the sense that the Senate President, General David Mark, retired, actually, stood as a guarantor, and of course, saying that, well, we should trust the federal government, that the sack of the 16,000 resident doctors will be reversed. And also appealing on the state of the health situation, the issue of Ebola and all that. Well, of course, we believe that the government will keep their own part of the agreement, okay, and get the resident doctors reinstated, because that had not been done as at the time that the strike was suspended. And you also know that there's no way the teaching hospitals will run without these residents.
NME has suspended the strike. There's no doubt about that. And we expect work, and even if we suspend the strike, work, it takes some time before you reach, it's a momentum you build gradually. And but the teaching hospitals are peculiar. If you go to a general hospital now, before the end of today, you can see that most of their work will have been restored properly. But teaching hospital is peculiar. Teaching hospital cannot function without resident doctors. You see, there can be skeletal services. Consultant can work with house officers, rendering some skeletal services. But the bulk of the doctors in the teaching hospital are the resident doctors. So when you have sacked this bulk, how do you want the work to go on now? It's just common logic.
For his part, the Lagos NMA Publicity Secretary Ibrahim Ogunbi wants the federal government to formalize all agreements reached with the doctors in order to save healthcare delivery in Nigeria.
we are so sure that they will be called back. And in fact, they are not calling back means that there will be no healthcare delivery in Nigeria, because as I've said, this is the backbone of the country's healthcare delivery.
They beseech the federal government to provide adequate equipment and funding for healthcare practitioners in order to curb the deadly Ebola virus. Anita Fatunji, CoreTV News, Lagos.
Watching CoreTV News at 7. After the break, members of the Enugu House of Assembly on Tuesday impeached the Deputy Governor of the state Sunday, Onyebuchi. We'll bring you details of that after this timeout. Stay with us.
You can now watch CoreTV News live from anywhere in the world on our website, www.coretvnews.com. Click on Live TV on our website and watch us live.
And welcome to CoreTV Primetime Days.
To follow us on Twitter, click on Twitter icon on our website. On Facebook, click on the Facebook and YouTube to see all our previous news production. You can also watch us live on YouTube. Click CoreTV, leave a space, then news. CoreTV News, a 24-hour news station.
Glad to have you back on CoreTV News at 7. Members of the Enugu House of Assembly on Tuesday impeached the Deputy Governor of the state Sunday, Onyebuchi. Onyebuchi's impeachment followed his indictment by a 7-man panel of inquiry which investigated allegations leveled against him by the lawmakers. The panel in its effort held that Onyebuchi was guilty of the allegations brought against him. Members of the House adopted the results of the panel after the House leader, Ude Okoye, moved a motion for its adoption. Ude Okoye, who sponsored the motion on notice alongside 21 other members of the House, noted that the motion was in line with the provisions of Section 1889 of the 1999 Constitution, as amended, which provided for the removal of members of the executive arm of government. The motion called for a resolution of those of the House to consider the report of the investigation panel on the allegations of gross misconduct of the Deputy Governor, and that the House, having carefully considered the report of the investigative panel, adopted it. Onyebuchi was accused of running an illegal poultry in his official residence, an offense according to a resolution of the House, and also refusing to represent Governor Sullivan Chime at official functions in spite of a directive from the governor. The Deputy Governor had denied the allegations, insisting that he was witch-hunted for expressing an intention to contest the seat of the Enugu East Senatorial Zone, which is said to be reserved for the Governor's Chief of Staff, Ifeoma Nwobodo. The crisis rocking the All Progressive Congress since the emergence of John Oyegun as its national chairman in June this year worsened as one of its national chairmanship aspirants at the party's convention last June. Tommy Kimi has announced his withdrawal from the party. Kimi, in a statement made available to journalists in Benin City, the Edo State capital, says the decision is with immediate effect. He had insisted to lead the party, which as one of the founding fathers. The APC leadership has in the last 2 months also paid Kimi several visits in his Edo County home to persuade him not to abandon the party. Ikimi had in the last few months stayed away from all APC party activities, bringing speculations to bear that he has quite quit the party as well. The decision confirms the speculation that he is no longer a member of APC. He has, however, not officially announced his next political move. Now, Cameroon's army says some 480 Nigerian soldiers have fled to the country following fierce fighting with Boko Haram militants. Cameroon's army spokesman Dida Bajek says the soldiers have been disarmed and are being accommodated in schools. Clashes are said to be continuing in the border town of Gamborongala in Borno State. Boko Haram on Sunday released a video in which it said it has established an Islamic state in the towns and villages it controls in northeastern Nigeria. The defense authorities in a related issue explained that the Nigerian troops crossed over to the Cameroonian side of the border during the battle with the insurgents while making a tactical maneuver. A statement on the official website of the Nigerian Military Defense Info.mil.ng stated that the Nigerian troops had to submit their weapons to the Cameroonian authorities to show that they were not on any offensive against the country in line with standard practice. It added that the troops were on their way to Nigeria after the matter was sorted out by the authorities of both countries. The statement added that it was wrong to describe the presence of the soldiers in Cameroon as defection in view of discussions between the military leaderships of Nigeria and Cameroon and contacts made with the soldiers about their safety. The statement added that troops encountered a group of insurgents who were attempting to enter the country through Gamborungala in a gun battle and were still in pursuit of them. Now, the Christian Association of Nigeria is not comfortable with Boko Haram's recent declaration of an Islamic caliphate in northeast Nigeria. It describes the situation as serious and wants the federal government to stop treating the insurgents with kid gloves. Secretary General of the association, Musa Ashake, told journalists in Abuja that immediate action is needed to reclaim the honest territories. The report.
The umbrella body of Christians in Nigeria has always been opposed to Boko Haram and had been in the forefront of efforts to have it designated as a terrorist group. That was long before the federal government and the U.S. authorities made that move. And now that the insurgents claimed to have seized a part of Nigeria, Khan says its fears have been proved right.
Khan has been crying out. You have listened to Khan president. He has spoken over and over. Some have misunderstood him. But all that the Khan president has said all over the years has now come to be true. You know, he did not come out to say, I'm a prophet. But he warned, he advised. He said, we are not heading the right direction. This thing is not going to be good for us. So the words are there. It has been fulfilled.
It is convinced that the government could stop the insurgents if it shows some seriousness.
I think the federal government should wake up. Nigerians are tired and we're getting to a point where these bloodsuckers are trying to claim that there are some people that they are above the law. They are not above the law. I ask the federal government, I request, I plead, enough of the bloodshed.
Khan also had a piece of advice for Nigerian leaders and people in government.
And I can also quote at this very moment a German pastor, Pastor Martin Neuler, who supported Hitler when he was doing those things and never spoke. But when he was about to speak, it was late. Many people had been killed. And that's why he wrote the famous poem that he said, when they came for the industrialists, I did not speak out because I was not an industrialist. When they came for the socialists, I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. When they came for the Jews, I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. But when they came for me, there was nobody left to speak for me. Let that message go to our leaders in Nigeria.
For now, the Christian body says it is concerned about the fate of Nigerians living in the area designated as Islamic Caliphate who may not support Boko Haram's ideology.
Nigeria has launched what government officials say is the biggest silo in Africa. The silo is located in Huali and the outskirts of Abuja and has 100,000 ton capacity. Vice President Amadu, who represented President Goodluck Jonathan at the inauguration ceremony, assured Nigerians that the administration is committed to ensuring food security. For his part, Minister of Agriculture Akinwumi Adesina says 11 other silos are under construction nationwide and will be ready in December.
In this occasion of the commissioning of the 100,000 metric ton silo at Sheda, Federal Capital Territory, and the flag off of the agricultural equipment hiring centers in Nigeria. Our country has huge agricultural potentials. But talking about those potentials is not enough. We are working very hard to unlock those potentials to make agriculture a business that will create wealth for millions of Nigerians. I tasked the Minister of Agriculture to drive the process to ensure that we meet the goal, and in doing so, also modernize our agricultural system. I'm very pleased that the agricultural transformation agenda is working well and achieving great strides in our drive to turn Nigeria into a food self-sufficient country.
Today, as you are commissioning the largest silo in West Africa, It's another indication of tremendous leadership. And as we are flagging off a fully private sector-driven mechanization program, it's another first in Africa. One can only imagine if our farmers could produce an additional 21 million metric tons of food just between 2012 and 2014 without tractors and mechanized equipment, they will definitely feed the world if they have a fully mechanized agricultural system.
You're watching CoreTV News at 7. We'll take a short break. We'll be back right after this time out with foreign stories. Stay with us.
Welcome you to From the Ivory Tower and happenings around the country. Varsity teachers get to air their views. Students are actually not left out. We bring you intellectual ends from the events happening around you. It is dedicated to educating the populace with a spice of entertainment.
From the Ivory Tower, Tuesdays, only on CoreTV News.
Okay, so just joining us. This is CoreTV News at 7. Now, outside Nigeria, the president of Russia and Ukraine hold key talks with little hopes for a breakthrough in the conflict, pitting the former Soviet state against pro-Russian separatist rebels. Kiev reassured up tensions by announcing hours ahead of the talks it had captured 10 Russian soldiers on its territory, while Washington accused Moscow of escalating the conflict with repeat military incursions. Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko and Russian leader Vladimir Putin are due to meet in Minsk alongside top EU officials and the leaders from Kazakhstan and Belarus in a bid to defuse tensions that some fear could trigger direct hostilities between Russia and Ukraine. U.S. National Security Advisor Susan Rice slammed Moscow for military incursions into Ukraine using artillery, air defense systems, tanks, and troops, representing a significant escalation in the conflict. Kiev Security Service said paratroopers were from Russia's 98th Airborne Division were captured about 50 kilometers, 30 miles southeast of the main rebel stronghold of Donetsk. Kiev has long accused Moscow of stalking the separatist insurgency raging in its east. But this is the first time Ukrainian authorities have claimed to have captured soldiers from Russia's regular army. Moscow has repeatedly denied any involvement in the rebellion in Ukraine and demands Kiev halt its punishing offensive. And the next presidential election in the United States will present an interesting look as Jeb Bush, the popular son of former President George Bush, looks a lot like a presidential candidate traveling the country meeting voters. The former Florida governor admits he looks back fondly on his time in public office. How many Bush supporters are recommending they take a path trodden by many former governors and run for president? That family includes two former President Jeb Bush's brother George W. Bush and his father George H.W. Bush. But unlike the previous President Bush, Jeb Bush speaks fluent Spanish. That's helped boost his popularity with Hispanic voters. The Republican Party knows that they need a candidate that can connect with Hispanics and connect in a real way, in a believable way, and Jeb Bush may be that person. Bush is trading a tightrope on immigration, an issue important to many Hispanics, with some of his fellow Republicans taking a hard line on the influx of child migrants from Central America. Jeb Bush says he plans to make his decision on a presidential run later this year. Well, and that does it for News at 7. Many thanks for watching. I am Frank Omalape. Don't forget, join us at 9:45 for our primetime news. Thank you.